Hello again, everybody. Well, let's just keep right on rolling here with the DVD James Bond collection that I have. Yeah. This time we are going into part 5. Yeah. Part 5. Now, this is where I got first introduced to the world of James Bond. Oh, yeah. With this particular actor, he was the Bond that I grew up with. And he's still, in my opinion, my favorite Bond. Which one are we talking about here? We'll find out next on the Media Files. Welcome back. So, in the intro that I made, several parts ago about a random Bond film that I saw that my grandparents and other family members were watching. I had no idea what it was. All I knew was that they were some guy driving a tank through downtown city or something like that. Come to find out, many years later, that it was none other than GoldenEye. Oh yeah. Now, this is the first Bond movie that I ever remember actually seeing. I mean, once I saw this movie, I was instantly became a James Bond fan. I mean, I really did. I mean, after seeing the original teaser trailer that was attached to a lot of the first James Bond films on VHS way back in the day. I mean, that trailer music alone is just badass. I mean, you have no idea who it's going to be. Everybody thought it was going to be Dalton. Nope. Other than Pierce Brosnan himself. Oh yeah, Remington Steele. Now, originally, Timothy Dalton actually was supposed to be Bond in this film, but since he decided to quit and go on and do something else, the producers finally were able to get Pierce Brosnan to play Bond, because even though he had auditioned for it, but he was contracted to do Remington Steele at the time, which was in its 5th season, and which would be ultimately its final season at the time. But I mean, this movie just alone, I mean, it's my favorite story out of all the Bond films that Brosnan did. And, you got your collectible booklet there with him holding the gun, and that iconic image would be used basically throughout, almost his entire run. And then came along the video game. Oh yeah, they made a video game off of this. Still to this day, one of the best, if not probably the best, first-person shooter game ever made. You won't change my mind. You won't. So luckily, I mean, this thing, what do we have? I mean, this time he goes up against one of his own. He goes up against 006, Al Trevelyan. Yeah, played by none other than the awesome Sean Bean, who probably most of you know probably from the first season of Game of Thrones, but he's actually been in a ton of stuff way before he was cast as the villain as Bond. As Alex Trevelyan. But for this film, we have, as far as bonus features go, we have, once again, the widescreen master for picture and quality, audio commentary by director Martin Campbell and producer Michael G. Wilson, making of GoldenEye, the video journal, the World of 007 documentary, the GoldenEye music video by Tina Turner, a behind-the-scenes featurette, the collectible making of booklet, and the original theatrical trailers and TV spots. And yes, the original 1995 teaser trailer is on this disc. The one that has the original badass, promo music there with him basically just standing there and blowing off the letters. by saying there could be only one man, and it becomes 007 as Bronson walks towards the front of the camera. It was expecting someone else. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention about GoldenEye before we go on to the next film is that I actually managed to find a copy of the novelization. Yeah. I can't wait to read it to see if there's any difference between what is actually in the film versus what is actually in the book. Yeah. So, anyways, moving on. After the tremendous success of GoldenEye, producers decided, well, let's move on to the next one. So yeah, we have Tomorrow Never Dies. Yeah. Now, keep in mind, in my opinion, this is not really his best one. It's, in my opinion, it's kind of the weakest one out of all the films that he's done. But granted, I mean, he's got a, really, really good cast. I mean, you've got Jonathan Pryce as the notorious villain, media muggle type guy, very bland, very generic. But don't get me wrong. I mean, he's a great actor. I mean, he was in Brazil, and he was also playing Governor Swan in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. We also have Terry Hatcher as one of Bond's leading ladies, and also co-starring Michelle Yeoh out of all Bond girls. I mean, this is kind of when martial arts were really kind of breaking into the West and whatnot, so they kind of brought a little bit of that flavor on over to the Bond franchise a little bit. It was all right for what it was. I mean, but what's kind of interesting is that they kind of go back to they kind of pay homage to like the original films a little bit, as in he doesn't really use a whole lot of his weaponry, and they kind of use a little bit more of a kind of like a throwback to like where they're just kind of using more of a, there's not very many chase scenes or hardly anything at all. But, I mean, there's some great stuff in there, but overall, I mean, the story's kind of weak and what have you. But I mean, the title's not that bad at all. But originally, the title was called Tomorrow Never Lies, but apparently there was an issue, or there was like a typo that got sent over to the producers and ended up replacing lies with dies, so they just went with that title. But overall, this edition has some really good bonus features, but there is another version out there which has like a shiny silver cover to it, and there's also just a bare bones version of this. But for this edition, they have, once again, it's in widescreen. Audio commentary by director Roger Spottiswoode. Second audio commentary by second unit director Vic Armstrong and producer Michael G. Wilson. A storyboard overlay that compares the action scene concepts with what was in the final film. The Secrets of 007 featurette, depicting the evolution of the Bond series. Yeah, so it kind of basically goes from here's how it started to basically here kind of where it is now. We also have the Tomorrow Never Dies music video by Sheryl Crow. The stunning digital effects reel. Now, this is the coolest featurette, I think, out of all of it. We have the isolated music-only track, an interview with composer David Arnold. Yeah. This was his first Bond film that he did, and the way he kind of changed the Bond theme up a little bit, and he made it a little bit more contemporary, and he would go on to do the next several Bond films after doing this film. We also have the collectible making of booklet, and both the original theatrical trailer and the theatrical teaser trailer. Yeah. Now, sadly, mine did not come with the booklet. I have the DVDs upstairs somewhere. I think it's in one of my other cases, because I like to take DVDs with me if I ever go to other, places, or if I'm just kind of, wanting to watch one from somewhere else or whatever. But hopefully I'll be able to track this down again with the booklet. That way, the whole set is complete and what have you and whatnot. Because, I have all of them with the booklet. Sadly, that one did not come with it. So, I mean, that movie did fairly well. It made some okay money. So they decided, well, let's give it another shot here. Let's punch up the action a little bit more. So, excuse me, Bronson comes back as Bond once again in The World Is Not Enough. Yeah, now this particular film, I think, is probably his second best out of the entire franchise that he did. I mean, it co-stars, Denise Richards and Sophie Marceau. I mean, they, two awesome Bond ladies, very lovely ladies. One of them has a little bit of a twist to it, and you'll pretty much pick that up, when you see it. And it's kind of rare that you see, that type of person as a villain in the Bond franchise. But also, it also co-stars Robert Carlyle as the sinister villainous Renard. Yeah, now he kind of got popular with the film The Full Monty. That's kind of how the producers kind of found out about him, and he makes a pretty good villain. But, which I think is probably the coolest thing about this film, is that I think it's the only, if not maybe the second film that actually has the longest pre-title sequence. Yeah. This thing runs on, the pre-title sequence goes on for almost 15 minutes until it gets to the title scene. And what's really cool is that they have this really, really awesome boat chase sequence on the River Tam literally in the UK. I mean, in downtown London, England. I mean, it's just probably one of the coolest Bond chase scenes of all time. And once again, this thing comes with extras, loads of it. We have audio commentary by director Michael Apted. Another commentary featuring production designer Peter Lamont, second unit director Vic Armstrong, and composer David Arnold. There's also the documentary of the making of The World Is Not Enough, The Secrets of 007, featuring alternate video options. Music video by Garbage, which is the band who did the song for the film. The original theatrical trailer and the collectible booklet. Yeah, which I have the booklet here, but also, once again, the DVD it's upstairs somewhere. But at least I have the booklet for this particular film. But, I'll have to try to find another copy of that one, like I said. But overall, I mean, this movie, it was, pretty popular for its time. I mean, in my opinion, it was probably, my favorite, Bond score there for quite a while, because, it had this thing that I'd never, this tempo in the music that I had never heard before, and I kind of thought, like, wait a minute, am I hearing what I'm hearing? Yeah. And within the first, the opening chase, they use, drums like they normally would of a composer, any kind of like music, but it sounded more of like a rock and roll style, which was kind of a lot different than what I was used to listening for a Bond film. So I'm like, that kind of got me hooked on composer David Arnold and the way he composes music. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I thought The World Was Not Enough was probably his second favorite of mine personally. So, as we would move into the new millennium, we would have to wait 3 years for the next Bond film. And good thing we did, because we have, unfortunately, his final rendering of Bond. We have Pierce Brosnan in Die Another Day. Yeah. Now, what's kind of cool about this film is that this film was released during on Bond's 40th anniversary. Yeah, and so Bond originally came out in 1962 with Dr. No. Now we're up to 2002 with Die Another Day. But I tell you what, though, what's kind of cool about it is that this film basically pays homage to basically the entire franchise at the time. And, it comes with, 2 discs and the booklet. And if you kind of notice, they're kind of clear. White and blue, yeah. Theme is ice, fire and ice. Yeah, which is kind of interesting because, we really haven't seen anything like that really since, I believe it's Diamonds Are Forever, I believe. But I tell you, but you know, I mean, this movie was awesome. They paid homage. They had the original Bond car from the very first film in there. Him relighting the cigar, which he did in or rather the smoking type of thing that he did in the original film. But since the original film, he basically was a non-smoker. But it's just an homage to it. We also have Halle Berry doing her homage to Ursula Andress in the original film. And I mean, overall, I mean, this movie it is it's not real. It's an okay film, but you know, it feels like it's just a little long in certain places. I mean, it's over 2 hours, but I mean, you know, we got you know, loads of extras, and not only that, a really decent cast. I mean, not only do you have Halle Berry, but you also got Toby Stephens, Rosamund Pike, Rick Yune, John Cleese, and Judi Dench. Yeah. And I forgot to mention that in The World Is Not Enough, that would be Desmond Llewellyn's final run as Q. And unfortunately, he passed away literally not that long after the film was made and released in theaters. It's so sad because he literally, you know, he was Q all the way up to this point, and we're like, well, who's going to replace him? So luckily, they came up with an interesting idea: is that they had John Cleese star as R in this film. So basically, you know, like the alphabet, the next person would be Q. You know, the next person would be taking Q's place, would have the next letter of the alphabet. John Cleese kind of somewhat does this with this film, but they just decided to call him Q just for continuity's sake. But I'm like, that's R. I was like, whatever. But, I mean, overall, I mean, this movie is pretty packed with extras. I mean, you know, for disc one, you have, you know, the film is in widescreen. You have your audio commentary by Lee Tamahori, producer Michael G. Wilson. We also have an audio commentary with Pierce Brosnan and Rosamund Pike. We have the MI6 data stream, which is a trivia track with video streaming. The Bond Special Edition catalog trailer. DVD-ROM features, and you have your typical audio features, you know, in multi-different languages and subtitles. But for disc 2, we have Inside Die Another Day documentary, Scene Evolutions, which is basically when they do storyboard comparisons, interaction sequences, multi-angle explorations, which is where you can actually watch action scenes but done from different takes. Here, there, what have you, which is actually pretty cool. The title design, which is the opening credit breakdown, that is really cool. How the majority of that is CG, and some of it you can't really tell if it is or if it's not. Graphics were not that bad back in the day. We also have the digital grading, which is the effects featurette, equipment briefing, which is a gadgets featurette, which that's actually pretty cool of how they pay homage to basically every single gadget. Basically for the entire 40-run era of the franchise from then. We also have a photo gallery, or the image database as it's called. We have Madonna's Die Another Day music video. Yeah, Madonna did the title sequence, or she did the song for this movie. It's not bad, but it's a little too punchy. But they also have the making of Madonna's Die Another Day music video. They also have on here, which I think is pretty cool, they have the making of 007 Nightfire, which is actually one of the 4 games that Pierce Brosnan actually loaned his likeness to. So technically, if you were to add all the games and all of his entire run as Bond, he technically would have done 8. You also have your trailers and your TV spots, and you also have DVD-ROM features. Yeah, which you would put your DVD in your computer or PC, and you would go on the official website, and you were actually able to click additional links that you can find hidden features, interactive features, and whatnot. And they really sadly don't have that anymore. It's kind of a product of its day. Yeah. So, I mean, overall, I mean, you know, this movie, like I said, it's really not that bad. It kind of goes on for a little bit too long. But, I mean, it was kind of interesting is that Halle Berry's character, who's named Jinx, she almost got her own spin-off series because of this movie. But, you know, fortunately, that really wasn't meant to be, and it didn't really happen. Thank God, because, yeah, that wouldn't have gone very well with a lot of Bond fans. So, yeah. So with that, you know, that basically concludes Pierce Brosnan's run as James Bond, and in my opinion, probably the best Bond that we've ever had up to that point. I mean, sure, you know, out of all of them, I'll still go back and watch GoldenEye because I watched that one the most out of all of them. So, with that said, next time, let's conclude this bad boy. Yeah. Going on to part 6. Yeah. And sadly, the finale of the Bond franchise for now. So take care, and I will see you in the next video.